Ethan once dated me for a short while. When we broke up, he sneered. You knew I only dated you because I lost a bet. Why are you so cheap? I didn't explain. Probably because I hadn't read enough books. And didn't understand the principle of leaving room for love. Later. My mother told me that for two people to be together for a long time, love isn't important. Utility is. I learned my lesson, listed my conditions. And after years of floating in the dating market, I finally found a suitable man. In the cafe, my date and I had a great conversation. Even agreeing to have 2 children after marriage. Suddenly, an exquisitely dressed little boy popped out from nowhere and hugged my leg. Mommy. Why are you here? I missed you so much. My date's eyes widened in shock. You have a child. Before I could deny it, the little boy put his hands on his hips and answered rightfully. Of course I'm mommy's child. My daddy can prove it. I followed his gaze and saw Ethan standing quietly not far away, hands in his pockets. Congratulations to me. 6 years after the breakup, I became a mother. Is this child really not yours? My date was very skeptical. Of course, I understood his concerns. After all, the dating market is a mixed bag, full of all kinds of people. So I reasoned with him. Look at me. Look at this kid, and then look at the kid's dad. Do you think we look like a family? Ethan was too outstanding. He was the kind of outstanding that could be spotted instantly in a crowd, even wearing a hat. Ask in the most ordinary t-shirt and jeans. This kid also had red lips and white teeth, and even a Gucci logo on his little leather jacket. My date looked at me, then at Ethan, and nodded, convinced indeed. You don't look like a family better suited with me. I don't know this kid, but his dad is my high school classmate. Haven't seen him for years. He's probably playing a joke on me. I smiled and patted the kid's head. My date was more reassured. Just as he was about to sit down and continue chatting, he received an urgent call from his company. I expressed understanding and said we could meet another time. I've already paid the bill. Take your time eating. You can share with the kid, too. Thank you. Next time it's on me. I was really satisfied with this date. But as soon as he left, I heard the little boy say, your taste is really bad. He's far worse than my dad. I smiled and didn't reply. Just as I was about to send him back to Ethan, I saw Ethan walking towards us. He called the waiter and asked to clear the desserts on the table. These haven't been touched yet. Waiter, please pack them for me, I said gently. Ethan was a germaphobe. He wouldn't touch anything others had touched. Of course, he had the capital for that. But I didn't. I thought it was a pity to throw away perfectly good food. You like these? Ethan finally spoke, saying his first sentence to me. I looked at him in confusion. Reorder the desserts on the table. Pack them all for this lady. Ethan opened the payment code on his phone and handed it to the waiter. Throw away the ones on the table. I don't really like sweets. If you order them, give them to the kid. But don't let him eat too much. It bad for his teeth. Saying this, I picked up my bag and nodded as a goodbye. We haven't seen each other for so many years. After all, we were lovers once. Ethan tapped his fingers on the table a few times and looked up at me. Don't you want to sit down and catch up, Sarah? I sat back in the chair. The waiter was quick and soon served new drinks. Ethan's son sat next to him, quietly scooping cake with a spoon. I felt the atmosphere was a bit awkward. He said catch up, but he didn't speak. You're married? How old is your son? 4, I calculated the time and was a bit surprised. So you got married before graduating college? Quite unexpected. I thought Ethan was against marriage. But it turned out the rules were for outsiders. When he met the right person. All principles could be compromised. Were you on a blind date just now? Ah, yes. I nodded. How was it? Satisfied? Pretty good. We have quite a lot in common. Both pragmatic and sincere. Ethan sneered, his tone mocking. Seems you really reached that age where any man will do. I stopped stirring my coffee, staring at the whirlpool in the liquid for a few seconds. And looked up with a smile and admitted frankly, yeah. I'm not young anymore. I want to settle down quickly. Otherwise it will be hard to recover from childbirth when I'm older. Ethan's lips pressed into a straight line. This was a sign that he was very unhappy. Normal. He was unhappy most of the time in front of me. I used to be terrified of this. And always racked my brains to make him happy. Don't you think he looks familiar? Ethan suddenly pointed at his son and asked me. I listened to him and observed carefully. Your son doesn't look much like you. Is he more like his mom? Do I know his mom, too? There were only a few girls close to Ethan that I happened to know. I guessed one by one, but Ethan's face grew darker and darker. Finally, I shut up tactfully and smiled awkwardly. Sorry, I don't have much contact with high school classmates. Don't remember many of them. How about a hint? Ethan didn't speak. And the atmosphere became more and more suffocating. The kid opened his big eyes. Looking at me, then at his dad. Just as he was about to speak. He was interrupted by Ethan. Forget it. He breathed rapidly for a few seconds. Then quickly calmed down and handed his phone to me. Add me on WeChat. Actually, I didn't really want to add him. But he kept staring at me. As if he wouldn't take back his phone unless I added him. I could only take out my phone. Scan the code, and send a friend request. Let's go. Ethan put away his phone with satisfaction. Stood up and left first. The kid slid off the chair nimbly and trotted to keep up. After a few steps, turned back to look at me. I smiled and waved goodbye to him. Actually, I wanted to tell Ethan to pay attention. And not let the kid call anyone mom. Then I thought, what does it have to do with me? Why worry about things that don't concern me? I chose to pack the table full of desserts in the end. And shared them with my colleagues at work the next day. Wow, this dessert shop is expensive. Did you win the lottery? Your date bought it, right? This one is generous, unlike those stingy guys before, right? Almost forgot you have blind dates every week. How about this one? Did you like him? I smiled and nodded. I think this one is pretty good. What are his conditions? I told the truth. And saw my colleagues looking disappointed. You even consider these conditions? But compared to the previous ones, this one is already pretty good. They chattered, eating cake while discussing my marriage. Perhaps I was a weirdo in their eyes. Because I had been going on blind dates since graduating from college. Not forced by relatives or friends. Going through the motions to save face. But very seriously filtering and chatting. They thought women who were so determined to enter the grave of marriage in this era were fools. But I just knew very clearly what I wanted. I wasn't a celibate, didn't reject marriage. Nor was I a very firm person who might not withstand the pressure of marriage. Urging from relatives and friends. Instead of being chosen by men when I'm older. It's better to take the initiative while young. And try to pick one I'm satisfied with. After all, a woman's age is like a man's wealth. It's hard currency. My colleagues said my dates were low quality. Nothing outstanding. But I was just a very ordinary woman with nothing outstanding about me. Either. People always need to have self-knowledge. After adding Ethan, I never chatted with him. He posted on moments every now and then. From rock climbing to racing. Always surrounded by beautiful women. Living a colorful life. I liked liking posts. I found watching other people's lives interesting. And wasn't stingy with small kindnesses. But I never liked Ethan's posts. After all, given Ethan's dislike for me, my like would probably only ruin his good mood. I met my date a few more times. Had meals, watched movies. And we both had high approval of each other. On a gentle moonlit night, he asked me nervously and seriously if we could date with marriage in mind. I agreed. Mom was right. Marriage isn't always about loving each other and living happily ever after. It's the union of two families to increase the ability to resist risks, while also satisfying the instinct of human reproduction. Many of my colleagues and friends didn't want children. They said only people whose brains haven't fully evolved would be full of thoughts about children. Well, maybe my brain hasn't fully evolved. Dragging down humanity. Truly a bit embarrassed. On Monday, I specially took half a day off to go to the hospital. My health wasn't very good, with irregular periods and dysentery. Thinking that since I plan to get married, I should check my body first, regulate it in advance, and prepare for pregnancy in the future. The doctor looked at my medical record, wrote some slips quickly, and asked me to come back for a follow-up with the test results. I walked while flipping through the test slips. Before seeing clearly where to do the tests, I heard someone call my name. Sarah. The voice was low, magnetic, and unmistakably familiar. I froze, clutching the medical slips in my hand. I turned around to see Ethan standing at the end of the corridor. He was wearing a dark gray trench coat, looking completely out of place in the antiseptic white hallway of the public hospital. Beside him, the little boy, Leo, was holding his hand, looking up at me with bright, expectant eyes. Mommy. Leo chirped, trying to pull his hand free to run to me. Ethan held him back firmly, his gaze dropping to the papers in my hand. Gynecology and obstetrics. Ethan read the sign above my head, his eyebrow arching. A cold sneer touched his lips. You're moving fast. Already checking the machinery before the factory starts production. His words were sharp, piercing right through my thin armor of pragmatism. I instinctively folded the papers, hiding the text. Routine checkup. Why are you here? Leo had a fever last night. Follow up, Ethan said curtly. He stepped closer, invading my personal space. The scent of cedar and expensive tobacco overwhelmed the smell of disinfectant. So, you're really going to marry that mediocrity? You're preparing to bear his children. He has a name. It's Mark, I said, trying to sound confident. And yes, we are planning a family. That's what adults do, Ethan. Ethan stared at me, his eyes dark and unreadable. You think you can just play house with a stranger? You think biology is just a checklist? It is for me, I replied calmly. Not everyone has the luxury of waiting for a fairy tale. Some of us just want a life. Before Ethan could retort, the nurse called my name. Sarah Lynn. The doctor will see you now. I nodded to Ethan, offered a small smile to Leo, and fled into the examination room. 10 minutes later, I walked out, feeling as if the ground had dissolved beneath my feet. The doctor's words echoed in my mind. Premature ovarian failure. Severe scarring. The likelihood of natural conception is less than 1%. Even IVF would be a miracle. I sat on a metal bench in the waiting area, staring blankly at the wall. My utility. My value in the marriage market. It had just evaporated. Mark wanted 2 kids. That was his condition. I had met his condition with my resume, my temperance, and my body. Now, the main asset was frozen. A shadow fell over me. Ethan hadn't left. He was sitting on the bench opposite me, Leo playing with a toy car on his lap. Ethan looked at my pale face, and his mocking expression vanished, replaced by a frown. What did they say? I shook my head. Nothing. You look like you've seen a ghost. Tell me. His tone wasn't a request, it was a command. I looked at him, my eyes burning. I can't have children, Ethan. I'm broken. The silence stretched between us. I expected him to sneer, to say, good, you shouldn't reproduce anyway. Instead, his jaw tightened. He looked at me with an intensity that terrified me. So. That solves your problem. You don't have to marry that loser now. You don't understand. I snapped, my voice cracking. Marriage was my safety net. I'm 30. I'm ordinary. If I can't provide a family, why would anyone choose me? I'm useless. Ethan stood up abruptly, scaring Leo. He grabbed my wrist, pulling me up. Useless? Is that all you think you are? A womb for some incel to plant his seed in? Let go, Ethan. No, he hissed, his face inches from mine. If he leaves you because of this, he's garbage. Call him. Tell him right now. I can't. Call him. Or I will. Trembling, I took out my phone. I needed to know anyway. I texted Mark. Just got the checkup results. It's bad. Doctors say I likely can't have kids. We need to talk. I held the phone so Ethan could see. He watched the screen. 3 minutes later, the reply came. Mark, oh. That is serious. Sarah, you know my parents are very traditional. They want a grandson. Maybe we should cool things down for a bit. I need to think. Cool things down. The polite code for, it's over. I let out a dry laugh. See? Utility. Love isn't important. Utility is. Ethan snatched the phone from my hand and typed a reply before I could stop him. Go to hell. Don't contact me again. Then he blocked the number. Ethan. I saved you time, he said, tossing the phone back into my bag. He looked down at Leo. Let's go. Go where? Lunch. You're not going back to the office looking like a funeral attendee. I can't. Leo ran over and hugged my leg again, burying his face in my jeans. Mommy, come with us. Daddy says you're sad. I looked down at the boy. His hair was soft, his eyes remarkably similar to Ethan's, but the shape of his nose, it was odd. It looked like mine. Fine, I whispered. I had nowhere else to go. The lunch turned into a kidnapping. Ethan drove us to a private villa in the suburbs, not his old place, but somewhere new, secluded, and lush. I need a nanny, Ethan announced as we walked into the massive living room. I blinked. Excuse me? Leo's nanny quit this morning. I have meetings all week. You're unemployed. I have a job, Ethan. I'm an accountant. You hate your job. You told me that when we dated. You said you wanted to open a bakery or right, he countered, taking off his coat. I'll pay you triple your salary. Plus benefits. Live in. I am not being your maid. Not a maid. A companion for Leo. He likes you. God knows why, he muttered the last part, but I heard it. Why are you doing this? I asked, exhausted. You hate me. You think I'm cheap. You think I'm boring. Ethan turned to pour himself a glass of water. His back was rigid. I don't hate you, Sarah. I despise how you treat yourself. You treat yourself like a product on a discount shelf. It pisses me off. Maybe because that's how the world treats me, I said quietly. Stay, Leo tugged my hand. Please. I looked at the empty apartment waiting for me, the silence that would engulf me, the pitying looks of my colleagues when they found out the engagement was off. 1 week, I said. Until you find a professional. Ethan smirked, a flash of the old, arrogant boy I knew. Deal. The week turned into a month. Living with Ethan was confusing. He was cold, often locking himself in his study for hours, but then he would emerge for dinner and demand I eat more meat, claiming I was withered. He watched me interact with Leo like a hawk. And Leo. Leo was an angel. He was smart, sensitive, and clingy. He didn't call me auntie. He insisted on mommy. Ethan never corrected him. One rainy afternoon, while Leo was napping, I sat in the library reading. Ethan walked in, holding a glass of wine. He sat opposite me. Do you remember the bet? He asked suddenly. I froze. The one you lost? The reason you dated me? Ethan swirled the wine. There was no bet. I looked up. What? I never lost a bet. I told you that because I was a coward. He didn't look at me. My family, they had arranged a marriage for me. A merger. If I stayed with you, they threatened to ruin your life. To get you fired, to blacklist your family. I thought if I made you hate me, you'd leave and be safe. My heart hammered against my ribs. You lied. I was 22 and stupid, he said bitterly. I thought I was being noble. Then you left, and you moved on so quickly. Or I thought you did. I didn't move on, I whispered. I just learned to survive. And then, Ethan continued, his voice dropping, I found out about the clinic. What clinic? Ethan stood up and walked to a safe behind his desk. He pulled out a file and tossed it onto the coffee table. I opened it. It was a medical file. My medical file. From 5 years ago. Donor ID, 89402. My breath hitched. 5 years ago, my mother needed heart surgery. We had no insurance. I was desperate. I saw an ad for egg donation. High compensation for high IQ donors. I did it. I took the money, paid for the surgery, and never spoke of it again. I assumed my eggs went to some anonymous couple. I flipped the page. The recipient. Ethan J. Sterling. The room spun. I looked at Ethan, then at the file, then at the door where Leo was sleeping. Leo. I choked out. He's yours, Ethan said, his voice raw. I bought the batch. All of them. I hired a surrogate. I wanted a part of you. Even if I couldn't have you. You. I stood up, shaking. You stole my child. I didn't steal him. Ethan's voice rose. You sold the genetic material. I just ensured it didn't go to strangers. I raised him. I've loved him every day. But you didn't tell me. You let me think I was infertile. You let me think. I didn't know how to tell you. Ethan shouted back. Hey, remember when we broke up? Well, I bought your eggs and made a clone of you because I'm obsessed with you. You would have called the police. And at the cafe? I demanded, tears streaming down my face. You let him call me mommy. You knew. Yes. I knew. I saw you with that man, talking about utility, about conditions, and it killed me. Because you have a son. A son who asks for you every night. Ethan walked over and kneeled in front of me, grabbing my hands. Sarah. You aren't broken. You aren't useless. You are the mother of the most beautiful boy in the world. I pulled my hands away, my mind reeling. Leo was mine. Biologically mine. That's why he looked like me. That's why Ethan was so protective. I need to leave, I said. I can't, this is too much. Sarah, please. I ran out into the rain. I returned to my small apartment. I took 3 days off work. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. I was a mother. And Ethan. Ethan was a lunatic. A rich, manipulative, lovelorn lunatic. But he had raised my son. He had kept a piece of me when I had tried to throw everything away. On the 4th day, there was a knock on my door. I opened it. It wasn't Ethan. It was Leo. He was standing there with a small backpack, holding a drawing. Behind him stood Ethan's driver, looking apologetic. Mr. Ethan said I could come show you my drawing, Leo said shyly. I ushered him in. The drawing was of 3 stick figures. One tall, one small, one with long hair. Daddy, Leo, Mommy. Daddy is crying, Leo said, pointing to the tall figure. He says he made Mommy angry. My heart, which I had tried so hard to harden into a useful tool, finally cracked open. I hugged Leo, inhaling his scent, milk and baby shampoo. My son. I'm not angry at you, Leo, I whispered. Are you coming home? He asked. Home. I realized then that my conditions for a suitable man, stable job, pragmatism, no drama, were bullshit. They were defenses. I wanted to be loved. I wanted to be needed, not for my utility, but for me. Where is your dad? He's in the car. He said he wasn't allowed to come up unless you invited him. I walked to the window. Down on the street, Ethan's black Maybach was parked. He was leaning against the door, looking up at my window, getting soaked by the drizzle. He wasn't wearing a hat. He looked miserable. I grabbed my coat. Let's go get him. When I walked out of the building with Leo, Ethan straightened up. He looked terrified. It was a look I had never seen on him, not when we dated, not when he mocked me in the cafe. He looked like a man awaiting a sentence. I'm sorry, he said before I could speak. I'll sign over custody rights. Half. Full. Whatever you want. Just don't vanish again. I stopped in front of him. You're an idiot, Ethan. He blinked, raindrops dripping from his lashes. I know. You lied to me for 6 years. You raised my son without telling me. You mocked my dates. I was jealous, he admitted hoarsely. I couldn't stand seeing you sell yourself short. You think you're a better option? I asked, crossing my arms. Ethan looked at me, then at Leo, who was holding my hand tightly. I have money, he started, listing his conditions like I had done. I have a house. I have a son you love. I'm handsome. And... He swallowed. And I have never, not for 1 second, stopped loving you. Even when you were cheap. Even when you were boring. You are the only utility I need. I looked at this man. He was arrogant, complicated, and carried too much baggage. He was the opposite of safe. But he had saved my genetic legacy when I sold it. He had loved a ghost of me for 5 years. I can't have more children, I told him. The doctor was right about that. Leo is it. Leo is enough, Ethan said firmly. You are enough. I sighed, letting the tension of the last decade drain out of me. I stepped forward and wrapped my arms around his waist. He froze for a second, then crushed me against him, burying his face in my neck. You have terrible taste in women, I mumbled into his wet coat. I know, he laughed, a sound that vibrated against my chest. And you have terrible taste in men. But we suit each other. Leo squeezed between us. Group hug. Ethan picked him up with one arm, keeping the other around me. Group hug, he agreed. 2 years later. The dessert shop was crowded. I sat by the window, reviewing the monthly accounts. The bakery I had always wanted to open was doing well. Ethan had provided the capital, insisting it wasn't a loan but an investment in family happiness. Mommy. Leo, now 6 and missing 2 front teeth, ran in from the nearby park, followed by Ethan. Ethan was wearing a t-shirt and jeans, looking less like a CEO and more like a dad. He scraped his knee, Ethan reported, sounding panicked. I think he needs a disinfectant and a kiss. In that order. I rolled my eyes, closing the ledger. He's fine. You're the one who needs to calm down. I wiped Leo's knee and gave it a kiss. Better. Better. Leo shouted, grabbing a croissant and running off to the kids' corner. Ethan sat opposite me, stealing a sip of my coffee. By the way, I ran into Mark today. Oh. I didn't even look up. How is he? Married. Looking miserable. He asked about you. Asked if you ever fixed your health issues. I laughed. What did you say? I told him you were busy raising the heir to my empire and running the best bakery in the city. And that you were very, very happy. Ethan reached across the table and took my hand. His thumb brushed over the ring on my finger, a simple, elegant band. No massive diamond, just what I wanted. Are you? He asked, his eyes searching mine. Happy? I looked at him, then at Leo. I thought about the utility of my life. I wasn't just useful anymore. I was essential. I was loved. I'm not happy, I said, smiling mischievously. Ethan's face fell. What? I'm content, I corrected him. Happiness is fleeting. Contentment, that's for a long time. Ethan smirked, leaning in to kiss me. You and your philosophy. I'll take it. You'd better, I said. No returns on this merchandise. Wouldn't dream of it. Outside, the sun was shining. I didn't need to check the market anymore. I had already made the best deal of my life.